Today, we're looking at how many anglers make the process of color selection for their baits far too complicated. We're going to whittle things down to the basics and show you that by keeping things simple, you'll catch way more fish. Stick around, you don't want to miss this one. Got him. Ooh, that's another good one. I'm telling you, they're stacked up over there, honey. This is a big one. Holy cow, look at the size of this one. Look at this one. Nicest one all day. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing, and as I said in the intro, many anglers make color selection for their baits entirely too complicated. They want all the colors all the time, but that leads to indecision on the water, and indecision leads to junk fishing. And junk fishing by itself isn't bad, but it's always better to fish with purpose, to look for patterns and then develop those patterns, because that's how you catch the most bass. After you find those fish and you figure out what it is that they're after, then it makes the day a heck of a lot easier. And color selection, the right color selection, is a huge part of that. Now, I like to break things down into 3 simple steps, and we're going to look at that. But before we get started, if you like bass fishing content that always tries to be inclusive, whether you fish from a boat or whether you're fishing from the bank, and always thinking about budget, because not everyone's got a lot of money to spend on bass fishing gear, then this is the channel for you. Click that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, I would really appreciate it if you gave this video a like. But when I'm talking about 3 different phases for color, what am I talking about? Well, it doesn't really matter if the water's murky, if the water's clear, if it's windy, if it's calm. I always have 3 different types of colors in mind whenever I go to the lake. And I keep with those 3 different kinds. And it's always a light color, a dark color, and a vibrant color. And that's it. When I'm thinking of a light color, obviously, I'm thinking of something white. White works very well. Bone also works very well. Those are examples of light colors. This is going to stand out in murky water, but it's also going to be natural. You guys know I love a white soft plastic jerkbait, but not just there. Something like this Head and Spook, right? This is bone. Most of my walking baits are bone. That's the color that I throw most of the time. And most anglers throw bone walking baits, or most of their topwater tends to be bone, right? Not just a walking bait, but a wake bait, or a popper, or a prop bait. Bone is a popular topwater color for a reason. But I said I was looking at it from 3 different angles. It doesn't necessarily always have to be bone or white. If I've got some murkier water, I've got some cloudy skies, I got maybe a little bit of wind, then I'm going to go to something dark, right? I've got that black, I've got that deep red, I've got that black tassel, something that's going to give me a much darker presentation. I can use this whenever I've got some super thick hydrilla and I need to give the bass something to see in between those cracks. It might just be a little bit windier, or it might just be some murky water. And a lot of times, especially now that we've had a whole bunch of rain and that water is exceptionally murky, something like this can really do the trick. Again, I also said that I'm looking for something vibrant. And for me, a lot of times, vibrant means chartreuse. So that gives me 3 different color selections for my topwater. White/bone, black, black blue, something like that, and chartreuse, the vibrant. And I apply that to everything that I'm doing. It doesn't matter if I'm doing topwater, it doesn't matter if I'm doing middle of the water column, and it doesn't matter if I'm doing bottom bouncing techniques. For example, let's say I'm moving down to a little bit under the surface. I'm not fishing topwater, but I'm not really that far down. I'm just a couple feet under the water. Well, something like this white jerkbait, this white Yo-Zuri jerkbait, does exceptionally well. I can use this. I can be very visible. It can be windy. I can have some chop, or it can be essentially clear water with no wind. And this is still going to be a good color because it looks natural. I don't have to do with something like this. I can go with something that's, a bluegill color or a shad pattern. I can do that, but whenever I'm going out to the water, especially when I'm on that little bitty boat with very limited space, I always opt for the 3 types of colors that I'm going to fish any part of the water column with. So say I want to fish that jerkbait very deep. Well, again, that's where I can do something a bit more vibrant, something like this Thunder Stick. It's got that chartreuse. This really stands out in the water with that white, but that really hard chartreuse in the top of it. This is very vibrant in deeper water. So I can fish this in that 3 to 5 foot range. But if I'm going down to 8 foot, 10 foot, 15 foot, this is something that I want to use. As I get into those murkier depths, I've got something vibrant. You might like something like a really loud blue or a really loud red, but I urge you, something vibrant. Now, I'm not necessarily using chrome, right? I'm not necessarily using something chrome that deep because there's not nearly enough water, especially when it's murky. There's not nearly enough light at those depths to get the flash that you want, especially if it's murky. If I'm doing flash, I'm doing something higher up in the water column. And that applies to my spinnerbaits too, right? This is what I was throwing around today because the water was murky. I had a little bit of flash. I had an Indiana blade and a Colorado blade. These are both very small on a chartreuse Strike King spinnerbait. This has gone good for me before. I use chartreuse colors. I use vibrant colors whenever I want to stand out in the water, whenever I think I really need to be seen. So not am I just using white, I'm also using chartreuse, and I can mix it up with a little bit of flash. But again, I'm keeping it very simple. If I need to go a little bit darker in the middle of the water column, well, I'm using something like this little 6th Sense Crush. These are great little square bills whenever I can move the bait, whenever I can cover some water. Something like this is exceptionally useful. And again, it keeps me honest. It keeps me within that 3 color palette range. And I can do the same thing if I need to slow things down. Good old Waco rig with a black blue flake worm. It's essentially that same color family. Now, I don't need to get super specific and say, oh, well, that is a blue-black with speckles in it, and this is a black-blue on one side. No, this is a black-blue flake. This is black-blue. It counts, right? You understand what I'm saying. I'm not getting super pedantic with it. I'm staying within my color palette. And if I want to go more vibrant, if I want to do something that maybe will stand out not just in deeper water, but in super murky water, well, then I can go with something like this chartreuse green worm. This, again, this is something that's going to be vibrant and very much stand out. And since we just got dumped on with a whole bunch of rain the other day, and that water is super murky, this is what I had tied on, and this is what was getting the bites. Those bass should be munching up right now. So yeah, I mean, I'm not changing my mind. There we go, I got him. What have I got? What have I got? What have I got? Whoa. Come on, little dude. There we go. Slung my worm. And there it goes. Alright, oops. Boy, you are cold. You are cold, little buddy. Right in the top of the mouth, like you like. On the chartreuse Waco rig. Yeah, right at a pound. But look how dark he is. Nice colorful bass. These bass are hiding out in this murky water. The Waco rig comes through with that chartreuse worm. Thank you so much, little dude. All right, there he goes. Let's see if we can't get more. Nice little fish, great color to it, but it super attacked that worm. It stood out like a beacon and it drew that bass in. And that's exactly what we want to do when it comes to our colors. We want to stand out. We want to look enticing. We want to attract that bass of curiosity. And if we can attract more than one bass and get that fear of missing out, because we know bass will attack something if they think another bass will get it first. You can use all of those techniques to get more bites with the right color selection, but don't go super complicated with it. Keep everything as simple as you possibly can. It doesn't have to be the same color palette that I'm using, but I suggest whittling things down to 3 simple concepts. For me, it's light/white. It's going to be dark, and then it's going to be something vibrant. Whenever I stick to that color scheme, that's when I'm getting the most bites, and that's when I can develop the most patterns. And I'm telling you, if you do the same thing, you're going to be surprised at how much more simple things are going to be, how easier you can find patterns on the water, and how many more fish you'll actually catch. So there you have it, a super simple way to whittle down your color choices and keep things very easy. And the easier we can keep things whenever we're going out on the water, the more we can focus on actually getting our lines wet and catching a lot of fish. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.